Some mysteries refuse to be forgotten. Some legends never fade. And some conspiracies demand to be uncovered. This is Codename Unknown. Mysteries, conspiracies, and legends. Where expert investigator and host Jackson Wolf dives deep into history's most perplexing enigmas, chilling folklore, and secretive cover-ups. Each week, he pushes the boundaries of what we know, uncovering hidden truths and questioning the stories we've been told. The search for answers begins now. Open your mind, question everything, and step into the shadows.
Welcome to Codename Unknown, Mysteries, Conspiracies, and Legends. I'm Jackson Wolf, and tonight's case file is the Phantom Transmission, Messages from the Dead over Radio Waves. Across a century of airwaves, listeners have sworn they heard the departed speaking through static, pleading through fading carriers, or whispering amid strange tones. Are these dispatches from beyond, or artifacts of physics, technology, psychology, and sometimes deliberate trickery? In this solo deep dive, I'll pull apart folklore and forensics, from Victorian seance dreams to Cold War oddities, and give you a practical toolkit for evaluating any eerie recording you encounter. We'll ask what would count as real evidence, what the science predicts, and how easily sound can deceive. Keep your dial steady, your mind open yet critical, and remember, in radio, as in life, the most compelling signals are often riding just above the noise floor. Tonight we listen, measure, and test claims. First, how does radio put a human voice into your room? A microphone converts pressure into voltage, then we imprint or modulate that signal onto a carrier. Amplitude. Modulation varies the carrier's strength. Frequency modulation nudges its frequency. Single sideband conserves power by transmitting just one side of the spectrum. On reception, detectors reverse the process, but imperfections creep in: fading, multipath echoes, and thermal noise. When speech is weak, consonants smear and vowels dominate, producing syllable-like ghosts. That's where our brain steps in. Pareidolia is pattern matching gone wild. Faces in clouds, words in the wind. Play pink noise and many listeners hear their name. In radio, a burst of static, a clipped phoneme from a distant station, or heterodynes beating together can align right to resemble language. Expectation primes it. Tell someone to listen for mom, and a crackle becomes mom. Physics and psychology team up to conjure meaning. Claims of dead voices rose with new machines. In the late 1800s, spiritualism embraced telegraphy and phonographs as metaphors for spirit traffic. If wires carry unseen messages, why not a subtler current between worlds? Thomas Edison's rumored spirit phone fueled headlines. Though no working device or lab notes survive, the idea likely blended Edison's public musings about sensitive instruments with journalistic embellishment. Early radio added wonder and fear. Crystal sets pulled whispers from the air with no batteries, a miracle begging supernatural explanation. Newspapers printed seance experiments beside Marconi triumphs, and mediums rebranded as wireless sensitives. The sociological hook was irresistible. Technology promised democratized contact with loved ones, bypassing priests and parlors. That context set the stage for the electronic voice phenomena movement decades later, when tape recorders displaced slate writing and trumpets. The narrative evolved from mediums to microphones, but the hope stayed the same: grief looking for a channel. Frederick Jurgensen popularized EVP in the 1950s after claiming he captured voices on outdoor bird recordings. His follower, psychologist Konstantin Raudive, systematized sessions. Radios slightly detuned, tape reels rolling, questions asked, pauses left for replies. He cataloged thousands of short utterances in multiple languages, often single words, asserting they sounded clearer at faster playback and sometimes addressed experimenters by name. Skeptics countered that Rodov's protocols invited contamination, open microphones in RF-rich environments, no isolation from stray broadcasts, no double-blind labeling, and strong expectancy effects during interpretation. When independent labs tried controlled replications, intelligible phrases collapsed to chance-level syllables. Linguists noted the voices lacked stable formants and syntax, behaving like noise bursts with imposed meaning. Yet the aesthetic is powerful. If you've ever looped a fragment, your brain stitches patterns. EVP lives in that borderland, a ritual that can comfort and fascinate, but rarely survives rigorous, repeatable testing. Controls change everything about interpretation. Italy's Marcello Bacci became famous for direct radio voices. In sessions, a tube receiver was detuned between stations. Attendees reported full-sentence conversations with deceased relatives emerging from the speaker, sometimes answering questions. Investigators who visited noted minimal controls, no RF shielding, no logging of propagation or local stations, and no blinding of sitters. When skeptics requested independent equipment or isolation, reported clarity diminished. In the United States, William O'Neill's 1980s Spiricom claimed a two-way bridge using 13 fixed-tone oscillators, forming an artificial vocal tract. Supposed transcripts read like talk with a deceased scientist, but the device failed to work for others, even with identical schematics. Audio analysis suggested human formant patterns consistent with live input or bleed. Across such devices, a pattern recurs, strong anecdote, weak replicability. Without sealed environments and third-party operators, radio is too leaky. What sounds impossible often reduces to ordinary reception, wishful hearing, or staged effects. Some anomalies are real puzzles without invoking spirits. Long-delayed echoes, first logged in 1927, are radio transmissions heard seconds after sending, far longer than normal ionospheric bounces. Hypotheses include magnetospheric trapping, multi-hop around the Earth, or reflection from plasma irregularities. None fully explains every report, but none requires ghosts. Then there are number stations, eerie one-way broadcasts, beeps, tones, monotone voices reciting digits, used for clandestine communications. UVB-76, the buzzer, has droned for decades from Russia, occasionally cutting to voice. Heard out of context, such signals feel supernatural. Add receiver overload and partial reception, and you get fragmented syllables that seem like whispers. Some chills were hoaxes or hijacks. The 1977 Southern TV Ashtar intrusion in the UK, the 1987 Chicago Max Headroom takeover, and assorted pirate stunts. Distinguishing them is a skill. Check time, frequency, and databases like HF underground logs. Often the strange has a call sign hiding in plain sight. The planet and its space weather sing. Natural radio includes spherics, crackles from lightning discharges, plus whistlers, descending tones created as strikes ducked along magnetic field lines through the magnetosphere. During auroras, you can hear a breathy hiss. Point a receiver at Jupiter on the right frequency and time, and you'll catch roaring bursts driven by its moon I.O. These sounds are unearthly but entirely geophysical. Propagation adds further weirdness. Ionospheric skip can bounce shortwave thousands of kilometers. Sporadic E layers open surprise paths on VHF, tropospheric ducting, bend signals over horizons during temperature inversions. All of that reshuffles whose voice you catch and when, smearing syllables and creating echoes. Combine it with dusk transitions and solar storms, and an ordinary broadcast can arrive as a chopped, delayed murmur. To an untrained ear, that can resemble the halting cadence attributed to spirits. To a trained ear, it's the sky doing its daily tricks. Your receiver can fabricate voices without knowing it. Intermodulation mixes strong nearby transmitters into new phantom frequencies. Superheterodyne sets create image frequencies, ghost channels mirroring real ones. Cross-modulation lets a powerful AM station ride along when you tune something else. Corroded joints, the rusty bolt diode effect, act as involuntary detectors, demodulating AM on fences, gutters, or loose hardware. Enter the spirit box, a radio that sweeps the dial rapidly. It collages syllables from multiple stations, music snippets, and noise into apparent sentences. Ask targeted questions and confirmation bias glues matching fragments into answers. Urban legends amplify the rest. SOS messages from doomed ships still repeating, or phone calls from the dead after funerals. Investigations usually find misheard maritime beacons, hoaxers, or grief stage pranks. For phones, line crosstalk, voicemail delays, and spoofed caller ID explain most cases. Legends persist because they're narratively satisfying, not because chain of evidence survives scrutiny. Documentation beats anecdotes every time. How do we test a claimed phantom transmission? Start with controls: fixed mic placement, documented time, frequency, location, antenna, receiver model and settings, plus environmental notes, weather, solar flux, geomagnetic copy. Record continuous audio with timestamps and a video of the setup. Run blind listening tests, play clips to judges without prompting, measure agreement. On the lab side, use spectrograms, look for formants and harmonics, measure information density against chance cut-ups, and compare to known station IDs. Bring in specialists, a ham radio operator to analyze propagation and interference, an audio engineer for signal paths and artifacts, and a parapsychology researcher or skeptic to critique protocol and statistics. Psychology matters too. Grief, suggestibility, group dynamics, and confirmation bias shape what we hear. Ethically, respect families and victims, never stage tragedy. Legally and safely, listen only, do not transmit, avoid interference, especially on aviation, maritime, and emergency bands. Curiosity never outranks safety, ever. Before we sign off, a verdict framework. 1. Hoax. Evidence of fabrication or technical impossibility. 2. Misinterpretation, explained by propagation, interference, natural radio, or pareidolia, repeatable under control. 3. Unresolved anomaly, captured with strong controls, independent attempts, and information content beyond chance, with no mundane source. Very few reach 3. Help us test claims. Submit raw audio with UTC time, frequency and mode, location, receiver, and antenna, gain filters, plus notes on weather, lightning, solar flux, geomagnetic KP. Add a photo or short setup video and consent to share. We'll bring a ham, an audio engineer, and a skeptical researcher to review. Tonight we traced how voices ride carriers, why brains hear words and noise, the history from spiritualism to EVP and Spiricom, the realities of number stations and LDEs, the tricks of propagation, hardware, and hoax. Value added, a toolkit. Listen, measure, document. Thought experiment. If the dead speak, the data will agree.
You've been listening to Codename Unknown: Mysteries, Conspiracies, and Legends. The search for answers never stops, and the truth is always waiting to be uncovered. If you enjoyed the journey, subscribe to us, and don't miss what's next. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning everything.